Welcome to the SWAYAM course in Microbial Technology. Myself, Ms. Shilpi Banerjee, Assistant Professor, Chhattisgarh Swami Vivekanand Technical University. Today we will be discussing about autotrophs. Well, before beginning with the autotrophs, I believe previously you have studied about introduction of spores, types of spores, their structure, the shapes and position of endospores, sporulation or sporogenesis, the formation steps of endospore and exospore, the mechanism of germination process and their summary. In this lecture, the topics which we will be discussing are introduction to autotrophs, their features, different types of autotrophs, examples along with some pictorial representation, heterotrophs in food chain, their importance and summary. To begin with, autotrophic nutrition is nothing but a process where organism prepares its own food from a simple inorganic material like water, mineral salts and carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight. Well, when you are listening to this line, process where organism prepares its own food from a simple inorganic material like water, mineral salt and carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight, I believe you must be remembering about photosynthesis. Photosynthesis it is. Actually, the term autotrophic is formed by the combination of two terms auto and trophic. Auto means self, trophic means nutrition. So, the literal meaning of this autotrophic term is self nutrition. Autotrophs are organisms that can produce their own food while drawing energy from inorganic materials available in the environment. Since autotrophs are an ecosystem's main energy producers, they serve as the foundation of the food chain and supply energy to all the other creatures. Because autotrophs produce their own food, they are sometimes also known as producers, right? Plants are the most familiar type of autotroph, but there are many different kinds of autotrophic organisms as well. Algae, which live in water and whose larger forms are known as seaweed, is autotrophic. Phytoplankton, tiny organisms, they live in the ocean, right? They are also autotrophs. Some types of other bacteria are also autotrophs. Autotrophic organisms contain a green colored pigment called chlorophyll, which helps in trapping the energy from the sun. All green plants possess an autotrophic mode of nutrition. They prepare their own food by utilizing solar energy, water and carbon dioxide by the process of photosynthesis. So, this results in the formation of glucose. This is exactly what I was trying to tell you in the first slide. Most autotrophs use a process called photosynthesis to make their food. Glucose is a type of sugar which gives plants energy. Plants also use glucose to make cellulose, which is a substance used to grow and build cell walls. All plants with green leaves, from the tiniest mosses to towering fir trees, synthesize or create their own food through photosynthesis. Algae, phytoplankton and some other bacteria also perform photosynthesis. An autotroph is a name given to an organism which produces complex organic compounds from simple substances found within its surrounding through either photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. Autotrophs can make organic compounds for biosynthesis by reducing carbon dioxide and also create their storage for chemical energy. Autotrophs can use water or hydrogen compounds like hydrogen sulfide as reducing agents. Other autotrophs like plants convert electromagnetic energy from sunlight to form a chemical energy which is reduced carbon. Hence, they earn the name phototrophs. Now, let us look into the features or characteristics of some autotrophs. And unicellular green algae that grow in long filamentous colonies are mostly found in fresh water, but they can also grow in salt water and even snow. So, they have a characteristically symmetrical structure and a homogeneous cell wall. Photosynthetic algae are vital to the global cycle of nutrients such as carbon and oxygen. They remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and generate over half of the global oxygen supply. The genus name for this cyanobacterium, which is basically also known as Oscillatoria cyanobacteria, comes from the movement it makes as it orients itself to the brightest light source available, from which it gains energy by the process of photosynthesis. So, the red coloration, as you can see in this pictorial representation of cyanobacterium, is because of the autofluorescence of several photosynthetic pigments and light harvesting proteins. Cyanobacteria are oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria. They harvest the sun's energy, absorb carbon dioxide and emit oxygen. Like plants and algae, cyanobacteria also contain chlorophyll and convert them into carbon dioxide to sugar through carbon fixation. Cyanobacteria are also capable of nitrogen fixation apart from carbon fixation. So, this is done by a process wherein atmospheric nitrogen is converted to ammonia, nitrite and nitrate. These substances are then absorbed by plants to synthesize various biological compounds. Cyanobacteria contain the pigments phycoerythrin and phycocyanin, which are responsible for their blue-green color. Due to their appearance, these bacteria are also sometimes known as blue-green algae, although they are not at all algae. So, this pictorial representation which you can see colored transmission electron micrograph of 2 chloroplasts, which can be seen in the leaf of a pea plant, that is Pisum sativum. Some rare autotrophs produce food through a process called chemosynthesis rather than through photosynthesis. Autotrophs that perform chemosynthesis do not use energy from the sun to produce food. Instead, they make food using energy from chemical reactions, which combines hydrogen sulfide or methane with oxygen. Organisms that use chemosynthesis live in extreme environments, where the toxic chemicals needed for oxidation are found. For example, bacteria living in active volcanoes oxidize sulfur to produce their own food. Bacteria that live in the deep ocean near hydrothermal vents also produce food through chemosynthesis. So, what is actually a hydrothermal vent? Hydrothermal vent is a narrow crack in the sea floor. Seawater seeps down through this crack into hot, partly melted rock below. So, this boiling hot water then circulates back up into the ocean loaded with minerals from the hot rock. These minerals include hydrogen sulfide, which the bacteria use in chemosynthesis. Autotrophic bacteria that produce food through chemosynthesis have also been found at places on the sea floor called cold seeps. At cold seeps, hydrogen sulfide and methane seep up from beneath the sea floor and mix with the ocean water and dissolved carbon dioxide. The autotrophic bacteria then oxidize these chemicals to produce energy. Now, let us look into the types of autotrophs. Autotrophs can be actually grouped into 2 categories, but there are several other categories as well depending on the source of energy they utilize to produce their food. Let us look into the first type, that is photoautotrophs. As the name suggests, photoautotrophs utilize solar energy and carbon dioxide to prepare their food using the process of photosynthesis. The photoautotrophs have a photosynthetic reaction center consisting of chlorophyll, which is responsible for transduction of radiation in cells. They are divided into two groups based on the number of reaction centers in the photosynthetic apparatus and the ability to utilize water, oxygenic photoautotrophs and anoxygenic photoautotrophs. Oxygenic photoautotrophs utilize water as a source of reducing power in order to generate oxygen, whereas anoxygenic photoautotrophs depend on environmental reducing power in order to assimilate carbon dioxide. Photoautotrophs had been considered to be solely responsible for life on earth initially, but however, this idea has been challenged by the discovery of chemolithoautotrophs. Now, let us look into what is chemolithoautotrophs. So, before that, photoautotrophs also include green plants and algae that contain chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is involved in capturing energy from sunlight, which is utilized into assemble carbon dioxide in glucose. Green plants are producers of the terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, which are consumed by heterotrophs known as consumers. The energy assembled by green plants is transferred to other animals through the food chain, which forms the basis of the ecosystem. Besides green plants, there are numerous other photosynthetic bacteria that contain other photosynthetic pigments like rhodopsin, carotenoids, etc. Photoautotrophs are also important in the carbon cycle, as these utilize carbon dioxide released by heterotrophs during respiration. Now, let us look into the second type, that is chemoautotrophs. They utilize energy obtained from a chemical reaction involving oxidation in order to prepare their food. These differ from photoautotrophs in that they do not depend on sunlight for energy. The source of carbon in case of chemoautotroph is an oxidized form of carbon like carbon dioxide. The most well known group of chemoautotrophs include the chemolithoautotrophic, that is found generally in rocks and utilize inorganic sources like ferrous iron, hydrogen and hydrogen sulfide. These autotrophs are found in extreme habitats like deep sea vents, acidic environments and deep trenches. All chemoautotrophs are microorganisms belonging to the archaea and bacteria domains. These have been studied intensely over the years to discover their role in the evolution of living beings on the planet. Chemoautotrophs are also studied for their role in astrobiology because of their ability to survive in extreme conditions. The energy used by these microorganisms is obtained from chemical reactions occurring in the environment. The next type of autotroph is mixotroph. So, as you can understand that mixotroph is like must be something related to mixed culture or something both characters are being used. So, autotrophs that can use both organic and inorganic substances as energy sources are known as mixotrophs. They frequently inhabit places with sparse or constrained energy sources, including the deep oceans or soils with little nutritional content. Mixotrophs can adapt to a variety of situations because they can switch between various metabolic pathways according to the availability of energy sources. Next type of autotroph is CAM plants. A form of photoautotroph that is adapted to dry and semi-arid settings are CAM, that is cross-Luckian acid metabolism plants. By keeping their stomata closed during the day, which reduces the amount of carbon dioxide they can absorb, they are able to lessen the water loss. Interesting, right? Instead, they take up carbon dioxide during night when it is cooler and more humid and store it as an organic acid that can be converted into light during the day. With this adaptation, CAM plants can survive in dry settings by conserving water. The next type of autotroph is C4 plants. A specific class of photoautotrophic plant known as C4 plant is adapted to situations with high temperature and light intensities. in order to boost the effectiveness of photosynthesis, they are able to concentrate carbon dioxide in their leaves through a particular mechanism. C4 plants have an adaptation that enables them to create more energy than other plant types in hot climates, which make them suitable for tropical and subtropical areas. The next type of autotroph is halophyte. So, halophytes are adapted to high salinity habitats like salt marshes and saline soils. Okay. So, by storing salt ions in their tissues which serve to maintain water balance and fend off the dehydration, they are able to survive in such conditions. Moreover, halophytes have unique enzymes and metabolic pathways that enable them to utilize solar energy for the synthesis of organic compounds even in the highly salinized conditions. Now, let us look into the next type of autotroph, that is acidophilic autotroph. Chemoautotroph are also known as acidophilic autotroph because they are adapted to acidic settings including volcanic lakes and acid mine drainage. These habitats are rich in inorganic substances like iron and sulfur, which they can use to obtain energy. Acidophilic autotrophs can use these inorganic chemicals as energy sources and can survive in extremely acidic environments, which is basically due to specific enzymes and metabolic pathways. The next type is hydrogen bacteria. So, chemoautotrophic hydrogen bacteria are able to use hydrogen gas as a source of energy. They are often found in places where anaerobic respiration produces hydrogen gas, such as anaerobic sediments and deep marine vents. Specialized enzymes and metabolic pathways again enable hydrogen bacteria to absorb energy from hydrogen gas and use it to synthesize organic molecules. Now, let us look into few examples of autotrophs. Green plants, they are the most important example of autotrophs as they are responsible for almost all the biomass on the planet. They are photoautotrophs that capture solar energy in order to reduce carbon dioxide into glucose. Green plants, as mentioned earlier, and we all very well know that they contain chlorophyll in their cells, which are the photosynthetic center of these organisms. The chlorophyll captures rays of different wavelengths and use the energy to move electrons to the water molecule. These plants, which are called the producer, and provide food to other plants as well as heterotroph. These form the primary trophic level in the food chain. The food is prepared in the green parts of the plant, which is then transferred to other parts via plant tissues. The next example is green sulfur bacteria. They are the microorganisms that are strictly anaerobic. Hope you know what is anaerobic, right? Photoautotrophs that assemble carbon compounds by utilizing sulfur compounds as electron donors. The photosynthetic center of these bacteria is similar in structure and function to the photosystem of plants and cyanobacteria. The light induced electron transfer in green sulfur bacteria is non-cycle, which results in the generation of NADPH. The green sulfur bacteria live in sulfur rich environments like low light intensities. So, in order to capture enough light, these have an extensive antenna system so as to capture all the available photons. Unlike photosynthesis in green plants, photosynthesis in green sulfur bacteria do not produce oxygen. The next example is methanogen. So, they are basically a group of bacteria that produce methane and other organic compounds by utilizing the electrons found in hydrogen gas. These bacteria occur in underground areas like the bottom of sea, deep sea trenches, vents where they produce large bubbles of methane gas. Most methanogens utilize acetate as the primary carbon source, resulting in the production of acetyl-CoA during autotrophic carbon fixation. The biological production of methane is not as effective as the industrial processes. However, The methane produced by these organisms has higher tolerance against impurities. Some of the examples of methanogenic bacteria include Methanococcus, Methanobacteriales, Methanosarcina and many others. The next example includes nitrogen fixing bacteria. Now these are involved in the conversion of molecular nitrogen into organic form. The organic form of nitrogen can then be taken up by the plants as a nutrient. These bacteria are chemoautotrophic bacteria which utilize the energy obtained from chemical reaction for the transfer of electron from the donor to the receiver. The molecular nitrogen in the environment is converted to nitrate by these bacteria, which is then taken up by the plants for the production of amino acid. So, nitrogen fixation is a very important process in the nitrogen cycle as well as in plants, and plants depends on this process for their need of nitrogen. So, some examples of nitrogen fixing bacteria are the very famous Azotobacterium, Azospirillum, Rhizobium, etc. Now, how autotrophs work in the food chain? Let us look into that. So, autotrophs form the first trophic level of the ecological food chain as mentioned earlier. They are termed as producers as they produce food and energy, which is then transferred to the organism present in the upper trophic level. Autotrophs are the primary source of energy in all food chains that provide energy to consumers and decomposers. About 10% of the energy produced by autotroph is transferred to the next trophic level, whereas the remaining is stored in the ecosystem. Autotrophs form the largest trophic level in the ecological pyramid in terms of biomass as well as energy. You can clearly see this in the pictorial representation shown below. So, autotrophs are directly consumed by primary consumers, resulting in the transfer of energy. The energy then slowly moves through the chain to finally reach the apex predators. In an ecological pyramid, autotrophs, which are known as primary producers, are always at the bottom level. They are organisms that create their energy using photosynthesis, such as plants, algae and grass. They are the base of the pyramid because they provide chemical energy that supports all the other levels. So, the three levels of the energy pyramid is producer level, consumer level and the decomposer level. Energy flows from the bottom to the top of the pyramid. Now, let us look into the importance of autotroph. The first importance of autotroph is they are the foundation of any food chain. Autotrophs are primary source of energy in ecosystem. They use sunlight or inorganic compounds to produce organic molecules through photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. These organic molecules serve as food for other organisms for their energy and survival. So, they basically form the base of the food chain, and not just food chain, they are the base of everything and everyone. The next importance is oxygen production. So, through photosynthesis, autotrophs release oxygen as a byproduct. This process is vital for the survival of aerobic organisms including human beings. Oxygen is essential for cellular respiration, the process by which organisms generate energy. Next importance is for carbon fixation. Autotrophs absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during photosynthesis, converting it into organic carbon compound. This helps in regulating the Earth's carbon cycle, which reduces the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and mitigating the change in climate. The next important is habitat and shelter. Autotrophs, particularly plants, provide habitat and shelter for a wide variety of organisms. They create microenvironments that support diverse communities of animals, fungi, microorganisms and everyone. The next importance is formation of soil and their stabilization. So, plant roots help to bind the soil particles together, preventing corrosion and erosion, which basically makes a soil stable. As autotrophs die and decompose, they contribute to the organic matter to the soil, enriching its fertility and supporting the growth of other organisms. The next is economic importance. Many autotrophs such as crops and trees have significant economic value. They provide food, timber, fuel, pharmaceuticals and other valuable resources that support the human livelihood and industries. The next importance of autotroph is global nutrient cycling. So, autotrophs play a very crucial role in nutrient cycling by absorbing essential nutrients from the environment and incorporating them into the tissues. When autotrophs are consumed by other organisms or they decompose, these nutrients are released back into the ecosystem, which basically completes the entire nutrient cycle. Overall, autotrophs are indispensable for sustaining life on earth. Their ability to harness energy from the environment and converting it into organic matter forms the basis, forms the foundation of the entire ecosystem. In conclusion, autotrophs or primary producers are organisms that produce their own food using energy from sunlight or inorganic compounds. They play a crucial role in ecosystems by forming the foundation of food chains, releasing oxygen through photosynthesis and fixing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Autotrophs also provide habitat and shelter for other organisms, contributing to the soil formation and stabilization. They have economic importance, they participate in global nutrient cycling and are very important for sustaining life on earth. So, with this we complete some basics of autotroph. The topics which will be covered in the next lecture is heterotroph, introduction to heterotroph, types of heterotroph based on different source, their examples with some pictorial representation, how heterotroph are placed in food chain, its importance and overall summary. So, basically students, in both these topics, autotroph and heterotroph, you will see that they are interconnected with each other. They are basically mutual with each other. Both autotroph and heterotroph form the foundation of the ecosystem. Now, autotroph, they are primary producers, they make their own food, whereas heterotroph are dependent on autotroph. They do not make their own food and they are dependent on autotroph. Similarly, just now as we have seen that how autotroph makes a way for other organisms, for other animals to live, for their energy, for their food supply, they make the way, be it microorganism, be it plants, be it anyone. So, this is how the entire food chain, which comprises of different type of animals, different type of microorganism, insect, worms, they are all interconnected. Everyone is dependent on each other for their survival. I hope I have been able to make you understand what is autotroph and in short have been able to make you understand what is heterotroph. In the next slide, we will be discussing in detail about heterotroph. Thank you.